For 80 minutes, two World Cup teams just stopped trying to score. Not because they couldn't, because they didn't need to. They passed the ball sideways, backward, anywhere but forward on purpose, while the crowd screamed at them to actually play. And here's the insane part. Nobody broke a single rule. This is a story of how one match became the most embarrassing 90 minutes in World Cup history, and how a team got robbed without ever losing a game. Let's go back to the beginning. 1982 World Cup, Spain. One group had four teams: West Germany, Austria, Chile, and Algeria. Algeria were playing their first World Cup ever. Nobody expected anything from them. Then, they did something nobody saw coming. They beat West Germany, one of the best teams on the planet, 2-1. It was one of the biggest shocks in World Cup history. A debut nation had just embarrassed a giant. Players were dancing on the pitch. Back home, people were celebrating in the streets. For one night, Algeria believed they belonged here. Algeria kept fighting through the group stage. By the time their matches were finished, they had 4 points, usually more than enough to go through. They had done everything right, on the field, fair and square. They went home, turned on their TVs, and waited to see if they'd made history. Everything was going perfectly, until two other teams sat down and did some math. Here's where it gets interesting. West Germany and Austria were playing each other in the very last match of the group, and before kickoff, both benches already knew the exact score that would send them both through and send Algeria home. If West Germany won by 1 or 2 goals, both teams were safe. Any other result, and one of these football giants was eliminated instead. Think about that for a second. The thing deciding this match wasn't a player, or a coach, or a tactic. It was a scoreline, and both teams chose to use it. In the 10th minute, West Germany scored 1-0, exactly the number they needed. And then, the game just stopped meaning anything. For the next 80 minutes, both teams passed the ball back and forth in their own half, no tackles, no urgency. Some players were practically jogging. The crowd started whistling, then booing, then waving white handkerchiefs in protest. Algeria's World Cup ended that day, not because they lost the match, but because two other teams quietly agreed not to try. So that was it. They went home. Except there's one more thing almost nobody mentions. None of this broke a single rule. That's what made it so much worse. The press tore both teams apart the next morning. They gave the match a name that stuck forever: the Disgrace of Gijón. FIFA was so embarrassed they changed the rules for good. Starting with the very next World Cup, every final group match now kicks off at the exact same time, so no team can ever again walk onto the pitch already knowing the score they need. One bad 90 minutes in Spain still shapes how every World Cup is scheduled today. Do you think Algeria deserved better? Because I do. Two teams stood on that pitch and chose not to play football and walked away completely clean. For 80 minutes, they just stopped trying. And somehow, that's still one of the most disgraceful and most legal moments in World Cup history. If you want another story where the rulebook, not the opponent, ended a team's dream, subscribe. There's one waiting for you right here.